You wake up in your bed and you're only 12 years old. Everything since was just a dream, but you have the knowledge of your older self. What do you do differently? Everything. Just ducking everything. I was reading my liver journal that was mostly written from age 18 to 20. I didn't think I was a ducking idiot, but I definitely was a ducking idiot. Realize my self-worth, get out of my crappy hometown, go to college for what I'm really passionate about, take school more seriously, edit. I'm going to add a couple more of my own, don't use food as your coping mechanism for the emotional trauma I'm going to endure, spend as much time as you can with dad. He only has about 10 years left, edit. Wow. I had no clue this was going to blow up. Thank you all for the great responses. Perfect, but also I'd like to add not getting into drugs and finding the right crowd. Tell my dad to go get checked for a brain aneurysm every year. Edit. Well, holy crap. I woke up this morning and found how much this blew up, including some silver and a couple of other badges. Thank you all for your kind words and support. So, I guess the full story is in order. I lost my dad when I was 32, not 12. But I would still spend 20 years watching him carefully and begging him to have a yearly scan or test or whatever if it meant getting another day with him. My mom and I were on vacation visiting my brother, who had just had his first baby, when my dad passed. He did not come with us because he had recently retired, so he and my sister were planning to ride their motorcycles across country together to see the baby. It was the last day of my trip, and I was spending it with a cousin who lives in the area. My mom was staying behind for another week. Even though my dad was officially retired, he was working part-time as a handyman at a local rec center and was supposed to go to work that morning. My uncle ran the rec center and didn't find out until late in the day that my dad did not show up for work. My aunt called my mom to say that my dad didn't show up. My mom knew right then that something was wrong. My dad showed up. If you told him 6 years ago to show up at your doorstep at this exact time, he would be there right on time. My mom then called another uncle, one of my dad's brothers who lived near us, to go check on him. He is the one who found him on the bathroom floor. My world hasn't been the same since. I was standing on a street corner in Los Angeles waiting for a table at a restaurant when my mom called to tell me, we assumed that, since it was an unattended death and he wasn't sick, that an autopsy would be performed. We didn't find out until weeks later, when we got the death certificate, that one was not performed. We had been given a cause of death as hardening of the arteries. My mom asked her cardiologist the next time she went in if that could have been determined without an autopsy, and he said no. I did a little research on the subject and found an article that states that sometimes that code is given when the coroner wants to chalk it up to natural causes. We figured on the aneurysm as code because my dad had a brother who died at home by himself at roughly the exact same age of 1. An autopsy was performed on him, though, and probably because he had not been found for a while and foul play could not be so easily ruled out. We didn't know that aneurysms were genetic. I wish we did. I mentioned in another comment that about a month before his death he came home from work suffering from the worst headache of his life. My mom was worried and tried getting him to go to the hospital, but he refused, and the headache was gone by morning. I've read that is really the only warning sign of an impending aneurysm rupture. The only good to come out of it was that my mom saw how hard my sister and brother and I took the loss, and she realized that she couldn't put us through that again anytime soon if she could help it. So, she started taking care of herself much better. She's the one with diabetes and had heart surgery. Before losing my dad, she was just kind of nonchalant about taking care of herself. She told my dad she wouldn't go through heart surgery again, even when the doctor had concerns about her other valve. When the endocrinologist scolded her about her A1C, she kind of blew it off. She's a champ now, though. She splits her time between living with my brother and sister, and also spends a week here and there with me. And we all make sure she never goes without a prescription, and my sister goes to every doctor appointment with her. She turned 70 this year and our plans to throw her a party were ducked by COVID-19, but I think we will still manage something. My dad's birthday is this coming Friday, and he would have been 70 as well. The sun rose and set with my mom. As far as he was concerned, he would have given his life for her, and maybe he did. But holy duck do I miss him. Lost my mom to a brain aneurysm when I was 11. Now I end every conversation I have with my brother and dad with "I love you," always thinking it's going to be my last conversation with them. 1. Avoid all debt. 2. Get a degree in a different subject. And 3. Marry someone else. Damn, you surely regret a lot of important things. I hope life gets better for you. Kudos. Start lifting weight. Edit. Thanks for the gold, stranger. Start now. Not say that I want to be a doctor when I get older. That would save me a ton of headache and needling. Also change my study habits, walking habits, hygiene habits, and speaking habits. Another ton of headaches gone. Are you doctor yet? You know, talk to me until you doctor. I'd work out more, and I'd give up on certain friends, and try harder with some. Really only 3 that come to mind that are worth trying to stick with this time around. I'd ignore the rest. Not sure what else I'd do really. This speaks to me. I hung out with a lot of assholes and let them push me around because I thought they were cool, and I was obsessed with popularity. There were some more genuine kids, but I didn't seek them out like I should have. Cry beyond happiness that I'm back in 2005 and begin playing Dungeons and Dragons. There's a website called Roll20. Maybe you could play again. I'd sit my parents down, tell them the truth, and that they should take out a second mortgage on the house and invest in small startups that I know will grow dramatically in size. They would not believe me, so I'd have to make a prediction of a news event in the near future that's completely out of left field and can't be denied. This would be 1994. I'm mourning the same date, so I'd probably choose O.J. Simpson being arrested for killing his wife, which would be June 18th. Week and a half. They'd be amazed, and from then on I'd essentially run the house and largely function as an unfettered adult in my 12-year-old body. I'm still gonna jerk off like 10 times a day though. For old time's sake. For old time's sake. Great, now I'm a 12-year-old with crippling anxiety and no hope for the future. Hell yeah. Go to the ducking gym and never start smoking. Definitely never start smoking. And maybe remember one or another lottery number or a big sports result just to make sure. A 12-year-old waking up with decades of memories would go insane. People would think they're crazy until they started listing off everything that would happen and they would come true. Invest money. Hey mom, can you put my allowance in the stock market this month? I swear you won't regret it. I'm surprised. Usually every comment in threads like this mentions Bitcoin. I was going to until I saw this. When I was 12, I received a $5,000 check from a very generous family member. I wanted to buy stock in Amazon, but my parents used it to pay for school. I can't say whether my parents or I would have had the patience to have really profited from that stock, and am grateful for my education. But I think about it frequently. I know a lot of people won't agree with this, but if that $5,000 improved your education significantly, I would side with your parents. I'd immediately start making plans to leave the house as soon as possible. Same here. I would leave as soon as possible and try and get the hell out of the country. Start life over away from that awful town and relatives. It wouldn't be fair getting my childhood back and having to relive all that crap. Tell my mom, you know how you work with kids that have ADHD. You know how you constantly say those kids remind you of me. You know how you're constantly getting mad at me for doing things that are symptoms of ADHD. Here's the phone book. Call a psychiatrist and make an appointment. Also, I would tell my dad what stocks to buy. My ADHD was the first thing I thought of too. Wasn't diagnosed until 2015 at age 19. I can't help but imagine how different things would be for me now had I received help early on. Get myself put in foster care and finish school early. Blackmail my father and stepmother with knowledge of their crimes and putting the fear of God into them to get my siblings the emotional and academic support they need from outside sources. Probably spend a year or two figuring out what the optimal career path is to be financially stable enough to have kids in my 20s. Do that. Try to justify my knowledge of a couple languages nobody I've ever met has spoken according to everyone I know. Spend a long time wrapping my head around how to have relationships with people once legally old enough, when I'd be attracted to people much older than me, but subconsciously judging those same people willing to have a relationship with my much physically younger self. Troll the internet by making people freak out with my uncannily accurate comments about the future. Likely get accused of being a hipster for an annoyingly large portion of my life thanks to consistently liking trends before they're popular. I understand if you can't/don't want to share, but you dangled the carrot. What's this blackmail about? I'd hug my dad and tell him he had to stop smoking that day. I'm sorry for your loss. Start standing up for myself a lot sooner. Start going to therapy a lot sooner. This, I didn't have the strength to comment it myself. Truth is everyone would have a mental breakdown. You wouldn't be able to trust reality anymore, and I can't begin to imagine the mental toll of losing everything you have overnight and trying to connect with others as a 12-year-old with a 20-something's mindset. School would be hell. Insist on getting birth control. Get an autism screening. Tell my crush that I do have a crush on him, but it's okay if he doesn't like him back. Fight my elementary school principal. Do not take art or band. It is not fun. Funny, because I'd end up majoring in music in college if I could do it all over again. And I'd start a mariachi band, played tuba, and a barbershop quartet, sang tenor, instead of working my way through at the mall. Hell, I'd still probably join the army, but instead of being a photographer, I'd be in the band. 12 was a chisty year, but I would encourage my family to exercise more and eat better. I didn't eat broccoli until college. We just didn't have it. Fresh veg was too expensive. My brother died recently of a heart attack. Maybe I could have saved him. I'm sorry you lost your brother. Mine is on track for one too. He eats McDonald's literally every day. Sometimes twice a day. Tell you what, I would brush my goddamn teeth for sure. 3 root canals and crowns from when I was 20 to 22. You can bet I will brush, floss and go to dentist every 6 months. I tell Catherine to stop telling people that she thinks I'm creepy and have a crush on her cause it's pretty obvious that I'm in the closet. Then I'd call her a nunt. I tell Catherine to stop telling people that she thinks I'm creepy and have a crush on her. This so much. I was an idiot at the time and just ignored them and said they'll get bored eventually, but their passive aggressiveness chiz talk just kept going and worsened with time. Ended up losing a friend over it. Given a second chance, I'd probably call them out on that chiz in front of people. If it was all a dream, then it's useless information, isn't it? I've had a lot of dreams, none of them have come true. Okay, let's somehow your dream told you the entire future as it was gonna happen, so you could make 100% accurate predictions. Don't buy stupid chiz I don't need. Oh definitely, I buy so much stupid crap and my money just seemingly vanishes overnight. I'm still trying to get out of the habit of buying things I don't need, but it's an endless cycle at the moment. Find my current significant other so we won't have to deal with any of life's bullshit that would bring us together anyways. I would make us save our money, learn how to invest and buy into those now large corporations when they first began. So many ideas. Edit, your significant other will also have you in their memory. So I'm at a disconnect on some of these comments below. What if she wasn't ready for you at a younger age? Maybe certain events that shaped her will never happen. You say if the chiz that did happen or not would have brought you together anyways isn't 100% it's possible, but without some of the experiences that she learned along the way may not be there that made her like you in certain ways. But if it works out, send a postcard with a white woman wearing a sombrero so I know it's you. Realize that even though they called me fat when I was 12, I wasn't fat at all and feel better about my body image. Get the ADHD diagnosis now instead of at 22 so I can get help quicker. Pick a career I really want instead of settling for one I'm okay at. When that teacher's assistant asks you to read her novel and give her feedback, do not tell her your own novel idea. She steals everything from the plot twists to the title and uses them for her own novel. What's the name of her novel? I'm not living this chiz again. I don't even really like to watch movies and those can be fast forwarded. This is the true answer. I'm not doing all that crap again. even for all the money I could get by investing or whatever. Take my cat to vet earlier, get cancer taken care of before it spread, then punch the bitch out of my dad, move out, get hell a lot better job, profit. Removed. Duck, I'm old. How long do I got until I'm supposed to yell at kids for being on the lawn? I've made mistakes, but the mistakes that I didn't make were my 4 wonderful kids from 3 wives. Were I to change one thing early on, all that would have changed. So I guess that I say that I would change nothing. It's been an interesting ride. My sane thought: you don't get to choose. Take away the bad, lose the good too. But maybe I could show some people more love, knowing what few time is left until I lose them. Never start playing League of Legends. Get my cat into the vet and hopefully save his life. Keep a close eye on my other cat so he doesn't run away. Also, tell my mother how I really feel, that she was abusive and incredibly difficult to deal with, and that she gave me severe depression and anxiety that's ruined my life. And tell her that, because of how she's treated me in the past, I won't seem to care about her death. But I do. Because despite everything, I still love her. I want an apology from her before she dies, but I also want to apologize to her. And I'll make sure to stay at the hospital the night before she dies instead of going home. I'll be with her when she pees in the morning. Why never start playing League? Stop my disordered eating habits and self-harm while I still had control. Urge my parents to get me the mental health treatment I needed instead of waiting until it was almost too late. Appreciate my friends, school, and hometown. Yay, seems like therapy used to be more stigmatized than it is now. Or maybe it's just embarrassing when you're a kid. Like I couldn't believe people went to the counselor's office to talk about their stuff. I wish it hadn't been an outlier thing when I was younger. Start getting in shape. Start now. Bet on the 2016 World Series. Nobody would expect a thing. That's right. The Cubs. No one expected the Cubs. Well, there is to root for me. I do everything what I did before, but give 110%. Or I can just really change my world, like meeting new people, taking different major at college, trying different professional job, etc. But I think I would live my life 100%. Work my ass off, and enjoy every seconds. Pop my ego bubble earlier, sign up for advanced classes outside of school to keep my work ethic up, apologize to my friends for how much of a huge a-hole I've been to them, not overwhelm myself with overly challenging classes freshman year of HS and college, not ask out certain people, invite people to social gatherings more often, not screw up on half my app tests, to be able to skip certain courses in college, start rock climbing sooner, join certain extracurriculars sooner, plenty more. AHH man. Taking all those acts and SATs and app tests again would be a pain. Could you make it age 11 instead? My dad died when I was 11. I'd like to hug him and tell him I love him. I'm sorry for your loss. Keep the memory of your dad alive. Definitely save Harambe in 2016. Some say that might be the point in which this timeline went wrong. Maybe Harambe was killed by evil time-traveling alien aliens from the future to throw our world into chaos. Counterpoint, what if Harambe somehow made everything worse? Like Harambe escapes in June 2020 and spreads covered during the protests and causes an unimaginable catastrophe. Don't waste my time with a girl that used 5 of my best years. Work on developing better social skills and make new friends. Nobody cares and this will be buried. But I would change my behavior in my relationship with my soon to be at 12 girlfriend. We've been together for over 3 years now. Both of us are 19. We were planning to get married, but my behavior and complacency that grew has ruined our relationship. She is ready to break up. She's still here and says she's willing to try. And I'm going to try my hardest to prove to her that I can do it. But man, it's hard to have hope. I was going to marry this woman, and she was my everything. Now I stand at the end of it all with no hope. I wish so badly I could go back and do it again, and this time love her how I should have. I fear it is too late for me. but I will try till I can't anymore because I love her with everything and want to show her that. Tell her this, then show her you mean it. I believe in you. I would eat food before my workout clap. Got a concussion that held me back a year. I make sure I beat every Mario Kart level in first and get a star ranking on every cup. Doing all that chiz over is hard. I also make sure I ask that girl out. This guy has his priorities straight. I would try to change as little as possible because I fear the butterfly effect more. Wow, I'm impressed by this comment. Leave my parents before they become abusive. Go with my partner when they move away. Warn them not to take the bus home on December 10th, 2019. Spend time with my great grandma who recently passed. I miss her every day and just want to spend time with her. First, I'm going to be nicer. Second, I'm coming out sooner. And third and most importantly, I'm taking a different degree than Palisi. Start listening to heavy metal a lot earlier so I don't miss any concerts. Going back to middle school would suck, but I'd have more confidence. I'd just have to endure repeating school until I turned 18. At 18 I would open my trade account with 2 decades of stock knowledge. I'd know what stocks to get into to ride the end of the dot-com bubble and get out before the crash. I'd know when to ride the metals market up and when to get out of stocks again before the 08 crash. I'd invest in Bitcoin in 08 and ride it up to 2017. By 2020 I'd be a billionaire with everything I know about how the markets moved in the last 2 decades. It would be glorious. Having to go back to basic education levels would suck. I'd be so bored all day. Take time to actually enjoy being a teenager. Actually go to parties a couple times. Ask out that hot girl who kept eyeing me in French class, even though I was oblivious to it. Go to at least one prom. I joined the army after high school and between work, school, hitting the gym every day, and other stuff I'm doing to advance my career I don't have nearly the same amount of time I did a year ago to just have fun. Maybe the most well-rounded, well-adjusted happy kids were ones who that actually happened to. Don't invest so much time in fake friends. Realize depression and mental illness isn't shameful and get help. Really just fix a lot of things. Definitely don't ever try drugs in high school. Just do the homework and stop eating only bread and chips every day of my life. Figure out how I time traveled a few months ahead. Get out to here, kid. Clearly make some index-based investments, focus on sports and school to secure scholarship. Tell all my worthless friends off. Sad, though. Probably won't encounter my lovely wife. I don't regret a second with her. Completely ignore every single authority person that ever told me, if you just ignore the bullies, they'll get bored eventually and give up. They don't. It only drives them to try harder, since it is then more satisfying when you finally crack. I wasn't even a typical target as I played sport and was a part of the social group. It all just came down to being a small town and someone had to get it. It took me a few years of hell and having friends threatened with injury for daring to AOC it with me before I threw that pariah BS aside and beat the living SG out of each and every one of them to end the nightmare. Avoiding those years would have saved a lot of authority trust issues now. So many of them could have stopped it at any time as they saw it escalate, but either the education system, apathy, or it'll toughen the boy up mentality held them back. Serious answer is I'd know who a couple of prolific pedophiles were in my neighborhood when I lived there, instead of finding out about them years later, and I'd work to try to get them caught. Call CPS. Imagine how different things would be if there was a mandatory unit on all forms of child abuse in elementary school and junior high. Approach them about hormone replacement and discomfort. Dad's going to be upset, but I think he'll get over it. Mom will be okay with it, but only because she's okay with everything with her must maintain medium attitude. Grandparents on dad's side would be super upset. Grandma on mom's side would be absolute all in love every second of it. Grandpa on mom's side died before I was born. Brother likely wouldn't care. I've never even hinted anything to him, but he's always been in support of me. So yeah, it's 28 years later. Hopefully I'm happy for once. Having my dad buy Bitcoin instead of penny stocks. Personally buying calls on the market into 2020, then buying very OTM puts. Make a few million billion. Go to college for what I'm studying now. World saved me a headache. Join track my first year of high school. World broken done state records maybe, not just high school records. Maybe a few other things here and there. OMG ducking everything. Call my ex and warn him about an accident that will happen to his dad in 4 years. Dump religion as soon as possible, get a rainbow flag and lots of LGBT stuff to help my bro feel comfortable coming out to me sooner. Spend more time with my grandpa. Go meet JK Rowling right about as Harry Potter is about to explode. Panic every day about the butterfly effect. Everything. Short the housing market in 2008. Make millions. Invest then in Bitcoin when they were cheaper than pizza. Stop 9/11. Just curious, but if you managed it, or even if you tried and failed, how would you explain your future knowledge? I can imagine some properly paranoid security types deciding that your inside knowledge means you were connected to the plot in some manner and make your life hell trying to figure out how. Not that saving those lives wouldn't be worth it, but I have to ask. Take school seriously. Don't ever touch a cigarette. Never pick up alcohol. Stay away from all the hoes. Invest in Bitcoin. When it starts, get a job as soon as possible. Start a YouTube channel claiming I'm a reincarnated drug addict / alcoholic child wonder and wow the world with my knowledge. Graduate early potentially, that sort of thing. Go to a My Chemical Romance concert while I still can. Spend more time with my grandmother. Put more effort into school. Do not stop going to therapy. Nothing honestly. Same. I made my choices and sure I'm curious about the road I didn't travel, but I'm happy where I'm at. Life is too short to regret what made you. I kidnap China officials and make them ban bats. PS I turned 12 7 months ago. Ban bats is a really dumb take. Even if it was ever confirmed that bats were the source, what you would ban is interactions with wild animals. But the reality is that a pandemic was bound to happen. Viruses are mutating all of the time, and it looks like every 100 years, a mutation happens that's really capable of breaking through all our defense systems, both outside and inside the human body. If you traveled back in time to prevent the COVID-19 pandemic, we would still have another pandemic in 1 to 10 years, because what failed us during this was the terrible political climate in which cooperation is impossible. The terrible lack of funding in healthcare infrastructure and Trump's systemic sabotage of both domestic and international pandemic prevention mechanisms. Buy Bitcoin and sell in 2017. Step 1. Obtain copy of Gray's Sports Almanac. Step 2. Profit. Get both parents to go to the doctor so they would catch the cancer early and they would live and not suffer. Anything else would just be gravy. Mom colon cancer and dad melanoma. Prevent getting fat. Act dumb to get mediocre grades until 10th grade and then become a genius and be impressive to everyone. And most importantly, I won't fear rejection anymore, so everything could go differently. Also try to predict COVID-19, although that would be a challenge. Get blockers ducking immediately and then HRT. Also don't take chemical in high school. Scream because the weed dispensary won't exist for 5 years. At least I would know about that 15-year-old stash from my parents' wedding party. Spend time with those I can't now. Oh my, you watched until the end? That's ducking awesome, dude. Thanks for watching.